This is the Pithiviers.
Hello and welcome to A Baker's Passion. I'm Ray Madursky, and today I'm going to be demonstrating how to take puff pastry and create the gâteau Pithiviers. Pithiviers is an almond cake that's contained in 2 pieces of puff pastry. It's an almond filling that we make, an almond cream, but it's not exactly like the other almond creams that we've done so far. It's simply butter, sugar, some lemon zest for the perfume, and then ground almonds. But what I do in this case is I really toast these almonds in the oven and get them to a beautiful, rich, fragrant color and taste. So this is a cake. It's really a tart if you really think about it, because it's pastry and you've got this great filling in it. And this is probably the inspiration for a more modern thing that we did in our last video, and that's the conversation. This is an older dessert, but it's absolutely one of the highlights of great French pastry making. And I think you're absolutely going to enjoy this. So let's get going. First thing I'm going to do is prepare the filling, the almond cream, and you can see I've toasted my almonds to a really wonderful golden brown, and now I'm going to chop them. The way to chop them is in your food processor, but to do it using only short, quick bursts. And there we have it. The nuts are slightly coarse, nice little pieces, and for this is fine. Now if I were making financier or some other special things, I might grind them a little bit more with the sugar in the recipe in a spice grinder, but for what we're doing, this is perfect. Alright, so here we have the ingredients for the cream filling, and it's butter, sugar, lemon zest, egg yolks. Then we're going to flavor with vanilla, and I use homemade vanilla. I make my own vanilla, some dark rum, and some almond. So I'll get going. I'm going to cream the butter and add the sugar. Okay, I'm going to slowly add my sugar to the butter. Now my egg yolks. I'm going to add just about a half of a teaspoon of the almond. Actually, a little bit more than that. A few tablespoons of the rum. And some of this wonderful homemade vanilla. I use cognac, a French cognac, to make my vanilla. So now we'll just beat this, then I'll add the ground almond. Okay, now what I do, I have small bowls that I use to form the hockey puck of the almond cream. So what I like to do is line the bowl with some plastic wrap, and then just put the cream into the bowl. And it helps you to be able to form a pretty consistently even shape. Excuse me. So here we go. Just smooth it down. And then just bring the ends of the plastic wrap over. And then that way, once it's chilled and firmed, all you have to do is turn it upside down, get it out, and it's easier to handle that way. You can use any bowl you want. You can use a stainless steel. You could even use a soup bowl, which would give you a broader disc of the cream, but I like using these bowls. It's what I've always done, so you can find the bowl that you think works best. What I'm going to do now is roll out the puff pastry. We're going to take one batch of the rapid puff pastry and divide it into two, but we'll make one piece just slightly larger than the second piece. Then what we'll do is dock one of the pieces, the smaller piece. That just means making a whole lot of fork holes in it, although I use this gadget, and I roll it across the dough, and then we'll put it to rest in the fridge for about 2 hours before actually forming the pastry. So here is the one piece, and here's the second piece. You can see the one piece, it's about a quarter larger than the other. So I'm going to roll the larger piece first, and then we'll roll the smaller piece. Because the dough is so cold and has so much butter, it's a good thing to get it started. Make it a little malleable by just using your rolling pin. I'm not doing it real hard, but I am just pounding on the dough. So now I will get rolling. Okay, that should do it. Doesn't roll perfectly round, but that's okay. First thing I'll do is get the excess flour off the dough. Then I'll turn it over and do the same thing. Now I'm just going to make sure the entire surface on one side has been docked. Now all I'm going to do is place this on a sheet pan lined with wax paper and make sure it's covered both sides, and then I'm going to let it rest in the refrigerator. Now I'm rolling out the second piece of dough, which is the larger piece. And this is the piece that'll form the top. So I'm going to roll it out, but it will not be docked. You don't have to dock the top piece, okay? Okay, so there we go. We'll just brush this off and then get it in the fridge to rest for 2 hours. Okay, now I'm going to begin assembling my Pithiviers. So I'm going to put the bottom piece of dough on a pan that has been lined with some parchment. Okay, and just place the dough like that. Just going to place it right in there. Now I'm taking the almond cream, the filling, and I actually put it in the freezer to get it to firm up. There we go. So it forms a really nice little dome. So all you have to do is make sure you get all of your plastic wrap off it. So just pull it apart. And place it right in the center of the piece of dough. The next step, I have an egg wash here that we're going to use as glue to glue the top piece of pastry to the bottom of the pastry. And I have 1 egg, 2 extra egg yolks, 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, and just a dash of salt. Now what you want to do is make sure that you have a good even border all the way around. And you want at least 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches of stick. So I'll show you how I like to do this. There are many different ways to do it, and many different people might say, oh, do it this way. Just see how this works for you. This is, I think, the greatest foolproof way of putting one of these together, because if you don't get the top piece of dough sticking, the cream melts and you'll wind up with a tray full of melted almond cream and some semi-baked puff pastry, and we don't want that. So now I'm going to take my top piece, which has not been docked. Don't forget, that's important here. And we're going to drape it over the bottom piece. Now what I like to do is just get it approximately lined up, but then as you put it down, you want to use your hand over the dome of the almond cream to literally push all of the air out of the pastry. So this is what it should look like. Now we're ready to form the actual Pithiviers. Now the way I like to do this, just because it's really nice and easy, is to take a plate and get it approximately laid out there and to use a cutting wheel, a pizza cutter, crimper, whatever you have, or you could use a knife too. I mean, very often I just use a paring knife. I've got all the dough cut, and you really want to save and layer the dough, because this is wonderful scraps that we could actually use to make more tart shells. So just lay the pieces flat, and then they'll go back into the fridge. Get your piece off the top, and if there's any places that need a little bit of trimming, go ahead and trim them. The next thing we want to do is put a vent in the top of the Pithiviers. For making the vent, I use a large plain tip. I just put it right about center, and boom, just push in and cut. Remove the piece of dough and you've got your vent. Now the next thing we do before we rest the formed Pithiviers, and I see a little something that doesn't belong there, so just pick it out with a knife. The next thing we're going to do though is to very carefully brush the top of the pastry with our egg wash. Now why do I say carefully? This stuff really and literally is glue, and we don't want it to get on the sides of the pastry where it's been cut, because it will stop the puff pastry from rising. So here we go. So I just go out to the edge, but I don't go over the edge. But just an initial coat, then we're going to go into the fridge for 1.5 hours to 2 hours for a good rest. And then we'll put it into a preheated 425 degree oven. Now the next thing I do at this point, I've got the back of my knife, and I just use my fingers to measure approximately, and I just push in with the back of the knife. You can also, if your knife, you have trouble doing it with this, grab a teaspoon and you could use the bottom end of the teaspoon and do the same thing. So I'm just crimping in to form a nice little scallop border as we go around the pastry. So there we go. The Pithiviers is now ready to go back into the refrigerator, and we'll give it a 2-hour rest. It will get a second glaze before we go in the oven and a decoration with a knife. Okay, I'm going to do the second brushing of the egg wash onto the Pithiviers. And now I'm going to show you how to decorate it. And it's really, it looks very simple, but when it bakes, you'll see it's spectacular. Okay, so we have our second layer of wash. I usually use a paring knife. And what I want to do is come out and just cut about a 1/16 or maybe even a 32nd of an inch into the pastry and just follow down using the indents as guides and just continue all the way around. Well, I hope the video has been helpful in explaining how to work with puff pastry and how to form these amazing pastries. The Pithiviers really is one of my favorite desserts in all the world, and I'm so excited to have been able to share with you how to make the easy, my rapid puff pastry, and then to share with you this absolutely incredible delight of a pastry. And the filling pretty much is what I learned about 35 years ago from John Clancy. So for A Baker's Passion, I'm Ray Madursky. Thank you for your time, your attention. Please be sure to like the videos on YouTube and really visit the blog and try using the recipes. I really encourage you because these are some of the world's great desserts. They really are. Well, now for my favorite time of the day, I get to try this amazing dessert. So this is our toasted almond filling. It's an almond cream, very close to the light almond cream that we use in tarts, but the almonds are toasted, really beautifully browned and then ground, and there's a little bit of lemon zest, so the flavor is amazing. This is the greatest dessert you'll ever make, I promise you. The little bit of lemon is just enough to give it this light, delicate perfume. It just melts in your mouth. And it's really, when you have the visual, I think, to help you guide through how you put it all together. It's so wonderful. So for A Baker's Passion, Ray Madursky saying have a great day, and please try the recipes. Thank you.